Well, hello and good evening, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here this evening. I'm Amanda McCrossin at Som Vivant, taking over this Napa Valley Vintners Instagram to celebrate none other than the Open the Cellar event. This is an incredibly exciting 48 hours in which you are going to get access to the Napa Valley wines that you would normally not get access to for this very short time. So before we get started, if you haven't made your way to the site already, openthecellar.com, be sure to do that. There is plenty for you to do and look through there. There's so many wines, back vintages, special cuvées, things that you wouldn't normally get access to. And we are going to be talking to a few of the producers tonight about some of the wines that they are very graciously giving you the keys to the kingdom to. So if you have already hit the website, already found a few things to stock in your own personal cellar, go ahead and put them in the comments below, and we are going to get started in just a few minutes. Just to give you a little lineup of what's about to happen, we've got Paula Kornell coming on. We've got Christine O'Sullivan from Brand. We're then jumping over to Jaime Araujo with Trois Noir. Then we're going to Lobo with winemaker Victoria Coleman, and then finishing up with Watermark with Phil and Diane Steinschreiber. It's going to be a really exciting evening. This is sort of a round robin situation in which we will have producers jumping on with us every 10 minutes. So the show continues until 6 p.m. Again, if there are wines that you've already purchased that you're maybe interested in, maybe you've got questions, this is the time to ask them, to talk about it. Maybe there's some fellow comrades in the virtual audience out here that can answer them for you. So I see Paula Kornell is here already. I don't think that we should delay drinking bubbles any longer, so I'm going to go ahead and bring her in, and we're going to get this started. Who's ready?
The Valley.
Already drinking bubbles too.
Good. There you are. Cheers, my dear. Nice to see you.
We have to stop meeting like this.
You know, it's really the worst how many times that we've seen each other in the last how many hours. This is really just, life in Napa Valley, right? Everybody is just
Pretty cool.
everywhere. Yeah. Well, hopefully you've got the same thing that I do, which is the 2018 Paula Kornell Blanc de Noirs. My dear, I'm so excited to be having this twice in the span of 24 hours. Lucky me.
And thank you.
Well,
tastes pretty darn good at 5 o'clock.
It does taste good at 5 o'clock. I wish I had some cheese, but that would be like sort of an uncomfortable situation on camera.
Yeah, that wouldn't work too well.
And for those visiting Napa Valley soon, I will say we did a really fun event yesterday at the Cameo Cinema where Chef Christopher Costel gave us a little teaser of something coming. And in our little box of food, we had some potato chips that paired beautifully with this wine here.
Really well with it.
Yeah, we won't give too much away. We'll let that be a surprise for later. But Paula, Open the Cellar event. This is very exciting. Thank you for your generosity in opening up your cellar and letting us in on this gorgeous 2018 Blanc de Noirs. What can you tell us about it?
Well, I'm so glad to be able to share it with you as this new release. This is my second release of the Blanc de Noirs. All the fruit comes from Carneros, and it comes from a vineyard called Mitsuko's. And Mitsuko was the wife of Jan Schramm from Clopagas, who she was a good friend of my mother's, so it's kind of fun to go full circle. And she acquired this lovely vineyard through her husband. He gave her for Valentine's Day one year a Tiffany's box full of dirt with a note that said, "For every day of the year, I love you." And he gave her 365 acres in the Carneros.
Oh my gosh, we should all be so lucky on Valentine's Day.
Pretty darn good. And I never knew, of all the years that I worked for Robert Mondavi, I had no idea there was 365 contiguous acres in the Carneros also.
I didn't either.
So I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky to be able to have 3 blocks designated just to Paula Kornell, both Chardonnay and Pinot Noir.
I love that. And we're so lucky to have you in the Valley, Paula. This is such a gorgeous sparkling. Of course, sparkling is a bit in your blood. This is something that your family has a little bit of history with. But what made you get back into the bubbles game?
Well, I think for all of these years since the closure of my family's winery in 1992, I've certainly enjoyed bubbles and both California sparkling wine as well as great champagne. and was given this opportunity about 4 years ago that just fell into my lap. And here I am, and very happy to be doing that. I forgot that how bubbles put smiles on everyone's faces. So it really is a pleasure being back in the business.
Everything's always a little bit better with bubbles, right? You can't be angry and sour while drinking bubbles.
No. No, not at all. It definitely makes you smile. And also I found that when I got out of the business in 92, people were still thinking of sparkling wine or champagne as celebratory. Mm-hmm. And now we're drinking a hell of a lot of bubbles, no matter where they're from, and rosé, which was another thing that people just didn't drink enough of. So cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Amen to that. Paula, this is made in the method champenoise, or the traditional method, right?
Correct. This is what the process that I grew up with, which is still wine is made. Then after a period of time where everything is barrel fermented, it goes into regular champagne bottles that we're familiar with a crown cap. Sugar and yeast is added to that wine, and then it sits on tirage, or lays to rest for anywhere from a year to 5 years. And during that time, that's when all the magic is actually happening in the bottle.
Now, the theme this year is every vintage tells a story. So tell me what the story of 2018 was for you.
Well, 2018, I think was the first year of being back in this business that I truly was. Everything about the business was exciting. Even though I've been in the business all my life and have worked with so many great still wines over the last 25, 30 years, it truly meant so much to me because it was one of my first vintages, and to be out in the vineyard celebrating when it was time, first of all, to be able to pick grapes earlier than everyone else is a wonderful experience. But I think it was more the fact that, boy, I it's sort of a salute to my parents, and I hope that they're either rolling over in their graves going, "Oh my God," or they're saying hallelujah.
I hope they're doing a little bit of both. I think the 2018 vintage, I remember, and I'm glad you got to finish it up a little bit earlier than everybody else in the Valley, because it was such a lovely year. I remember working at Press, and every night the vintners would come in and they'd be sitting at the bar, and I'd go, "How's it going?" They're like, "It's really good. It's a really good year. Everything seems to be like under control." And I've never seen a vintage where everyone was just so relaxed. There was plenty of fruit. It was all beautiful. Everyone was happy. It seemed to go on forever. And I think everybody was sort of like waiting for the other shoe to drop. But I remember that vintage so vividly because it was just one of those like perfect little years.
Yeah, no, we're very lucky in that year, and we're just praying that this year is going to be the same for everyone else. It certainly was for the very beginning when the grapes were coming in, but now I just hope for everyone else that it is too.
Well, Paula,
we want boring vintages. We really do, as far as what has happened.
We really do. Boring and lovely. Paula, you, of course, are you finished harvest already? Has it happened, or are you still in the throes?
I am finished the second week of August. Second and third week, first the Pinot Noir came in, then Chardonnay came in quickly after that. So everything is been fermented. It's sitting at Clopagas, where I make the still wine with Robin Ackhurst. And so it's doing just great. I get to taste what's happened so far next week, so I look forward to that.
Well, lucky you. You get to relax a little bit, hopefully go have a burger at the Charter Oak or just go sit at the bar somewhere fun.
There you go.
Speaking of food, let's talk about this wine. It's delicious, as we all know, or maybe some of you know already. Sparkling wine pairs with just about everything. My outfit, the food, everything. It just works always. But what is it that you love besides potato chips to drink your wine with, and what would you recommend to people who are going to be purchasing at home?
Well, I'd say bubbles go with almost everything, and it goes with everything just because of the great acidity, and it makes it much easier to drink it with things that are either heavy or light in style. So tonight I am going to the Empress of China here in San Francisco,
wow,
which was a place we celebrated my mother's 90th birthday. And I'm going to be bringing some of my Blanc de Noirs to dinner because it will go fabulous with some spicy, not overly spicy, but spicy food because of that acidity. But as we spoke about last night, it really does go. We think of bubbles with cream dishes or with nice salt, but it really can also go with a steak or some with red meat as well as something on the lighter side.
I like to think of it as anything that you might put like a squeeze of lemon on, it works.
Yeah.
You know, anything that wants something to be lifted. But as I also mentioned last night in our little conversation, this is the kind of wine that can take you through start to finish. So whether you're having cheese or some charcuterie or some sort of crudité platter to start, all the way through steak or chicken or whatever protein, this is the kind of wine that can really take you through the entire course of an evening, and you should never be afraid to just let the night be rocked by bubbles.
Absolutely. And that's why really in styling this brand, it was really wanting something that had acidity and could stand up to things, that it wasn't sweet at all, that you didn't, so often we are at a reception or having a glass of bubbles and we're taking a sip and we're putting the glass down because it's way too sweet.
Yeah.
So that was not the intent with this at all.
No, this is dry, it's crisp, it's lean. You know, it has a little bit of that California sun-kissed fruit, but it is not a sweet wine. You know, it's just enough fruit to make you remember that we are in the land of sunshine, but it's bright and it's just a gorgeous way to kick off this little live stream. Paula, I think, you know, since you are all done harvest, I'm going to be asking everyone what their favorite part about harvest is, or maybe what their least favorite part. Do you have a favorite part or maybe least favorite part that you experienced throughout the course of your harvest?
Well, both. I think the favorite part is definitely the anticipation. It's, you know, what is the creation going to be like this next year? Like, I guess it's like birthing a child. I don't know. I haven't had that experience, but it really is the anticipation and seeing how over the season the grapes have matured, the vineyard looks great, and what the great promise that the vintage has. I think that's probably and then of course, I think you're going to hear from most everyone saying, you just don't want rain, you don't want fire, we don't want drama. We just want something nice and quiet and easy for a change.
Well, I'm fingers crossed that the rest of this vintage is as perfect as the first couple of weeks have been. We've been very, very lucky. The weather's gorgeous today. It looks to be beautiful the rest of the week. So I will let you get back to the Empress of China and your bubbles. I'm going to push mine off to the side and revisit them later, as we like to say. We use the word revisit a lot in Napa Valley. It's the classy way to say.
You're going to be enjoying a lot more wines this evening too. So
I am. I'm a lucky girl. I love when I get to do these little round robins with lots of different people because I get to try all the wines.
Thank you.
Cheers, Paula. Thank you so much for being with me. I'm going to bring in Christine O'Sullivan from Brand. I'll say goodbye to you. This is available, the 2018 Blanc de Noir, on the site right now. So if bubbles are your thing and you haven't had these, or you have and you just need some more, now's the time, my dear. All right. See you soon, Paula.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. There you go. All right. Paula's out. We're going to be bringing in Christine from Brand, who should be jumping in with us any second now. These bubbles are so delicious. It's going to be very, very challenging for me to set them aside, but alas, this is my job, so I've got to do it. Let's try some of this gorgeous white. I think I saw Christine in here. Where did she go? There they are. Brand Napa Valley. Let's bring you in. Let's pour me some of this proprietary white. I love that for this Open the Cellar event, we have so many whites and sparklings to choose from. How exciting is that? We don't normally get a lot of these, but I have to say, there's so many gorgeous, gorgeous whites and sparklings here in the Napa Valley. We're so lucky. This is not just the land of red wine. This is not just the land of Cabernet. This is the land of many different options. So you should definitely take advantage as you're thinking about which wines to choose. Let's see if I can find Christine. I keep hitting that send request. I don't know what's coming up. Come on in. This is a really fun wine. If you guys haven't seen this yet, we are very, very lucky to be able to get the Brand Proprietary White from 2019. I'm going to let Christine fill you in the varieties, but I promise you, these are things that you have not seen in Napa Valley very often. I was really excited to see this wine coming off of Pritchard Hill because we all know Pritchard Hill to be one of the great places of the valley, but so often it's dominated by these red wines. Having a little trouble getting Christine in here. Let me keep trying.
Hi.
Yay! We did it!
I learned a long time ago, when there's a glitch, you just have to go with it.
That's right. Well, you would know. Thank you so much for being here. It looks like you're joining me from your beautiful property up on Pritchard Hill, maybe?
I am. Yes, I am in our beautiful tasting room on Long Ranch Road. Thank you. It's so great to see your face.
Oh, it's always good to see your face. And I am extremely happy because in addition to getting to see your face, I get to drink your 2019 proprietary white wine, which I know there's like none of. Yes.
Oh, you know, I have to say that we feel very fortunate because this is a bit of a unicorn on Pritchard Hill. It's just really beautiful to have happened upon what turned out to be a wonderful collaboration with a neighbor who happened to have Italian varietals. And I know Ribolla Gialla being, you know, something that's very near and dear to your heart. I just have to say that, and your face lights up. But before I go into the varietals, you know, as winemakers, we love to hone our craft and just really find something that's really exciting and new. And we started, the first vintage was 2017, when we decided to make something fun at the winery that customers could come and enjoy. So we started putting together some interesting varietals, which, as I say, started as a collaboration. Ribolla Gialla, Fiano, Arnese, and now in the 2019, there's Greco di Tufo. We had Cote de Volpe in the past, but now we're with Greco. So, you know, this is, I read something, and this is not unique to a Christine O'Sullivan saying, but I loved it. And it basically said, when you drink some of these varietals, especially Ribolla Gialla, it's like drinking sunshine in a glass. And I'm just going to take that saying as my own, because there's nothing nicer than thinking about on a day like this, for this beautiful, aromatic, gorgeous wine, to be able to say it's like drinking sunshine in a glass. So I felt I would coin that phrase, knowing it's not mine.
I love it. I think it's the perfect descriptor for this wine. I couldn't have said it better myself. Ribolla Gialla, Arnese, Greco di Tufo. I don't think I can remember all of them.
And Fiano.
Obviously grapes that we do not see very often in the Napa Valley, let alone Pritchard Hills. So kudos to you for not only making it, but making it available, because I know there's not very much produced.
Correct. You know, the reason we're offering this today is this is very rare. We make 150 cases of this. It's an 1.5 acres planted. You know, we love that the whole is greater than the sum of all of the parts, and we feel that, again, at brand, and I do have to give kudos to Matt Johnson, you know, our winemaker at brand, who is heading up this particular wine program for us, to say that we're constantly, what I would say, is doing research and development. What is growing? What works well in the climate as the climate is changing today? We're very lucky to have this beautiful Mediterranean climate, and as we, you know, look at different varietals at a time when there's, you know, the temperatures are changing and water is becoming, you know, an issue, you want to look at how can you do something that's really interesting and aromatically. Once you put this in a bottle and present it to, you know, wonderful wine lovers such as yourself, you have something that is just spectacular. And again, sunshine in a glass brings a smile to your face.
I mean, who doesn't love that? You know, I will say this is such an interesting wine because I think we always want to categorize our wines into, like, is it a little more Chardonnay? Is it a little bit more Sauvignon Blanc? And it's really neither. I mean, it really has this sort of sun-kissed thing, but there's also something savory. I will say, having had Ribollas with a little bit of age on them, they really lean into some of those, like, waxy characteristics. They could lean into something a little bit what we would call phenolic. So, like, a little bit more of that, like, crunchy, savory thing. But this wine is so lifted and so bright, and it is so different from anything that I think most people have ever had. And I think I'm laughing because I see Jonah Beer heckling me down here. This Ribolla sounds better than Petrovsky's. You know I'm not going there.
Well, I think what's lovely about a program such as this is, you know, we really honed in on how can we actually take these varietals and just really make them better as they, you know, as we blender wines. And what we found was, again, talking about Ribolla being, I guess, the superstar of the day as we're chatting, it has that flintiness to it. So we have handmade amphores that we brought in from Italy. And what's wonderful is once you ferment the Ribolla in that vessel, it really accentuates the characteristic of that varietal. So what's wonderful about this wine is we take all of the varietals and individually look at how does it make sense for us to ferment these and then bring them all together. So for Fiano, because it has that beautiful citrusy element to it, and stainless steel seems to again accentuate that its characteristics, and where Arnase would be less fruit forward, and Greco, we put those two together in neutral oak barrels, and it's just beautiful. What you get is this gorgeous wine that I have to tell you I'm quite partial to.
Well, it seems that you can definitely hear it in your voice. I know I'm quite partial to it. I know I was excited that this is going to be part of the lineup. I know every vintage tells a story is the theme for this year. So tell me about 2019 as a vintage for you.
Yeah, well, if you take the growing season out, 2019 was a remarkable growing season. That in itself is sort of self-evident. 2019 will always be in my life and my husband Jim's life a historical moment, because we became the proprietors of brand. So it's a very important year for us, and one that we feel we should always remember as being something spectacular. So it was the third vintage of the white wine. It moved from being, as I say, kind of a fun project to becoming a very serious project, and one that we really feel this is where we can, again, I mentioned earlier, hone our winemaking skills and just do something that's interesting and unexpected. I want to tell a story that a gentleman came to the winery yesterday, and we present the white wine. This really is only wine that you can get at the winery, and he tasted it, and his face just lit up, because at that point he still had no idea what he was drinking. And there was an expectation, well, it's a Chardonnay or it's a Sauvignon Blanc. And it is like, is it a plane? Is it a train? It's like, and it's just really funny, because you sit there and you're so excited to tell people, no, this is Italian varietals, and it's something very exciting and unique to our estate.
I couldn't agree more, Christine. This valley has been built upon really great winemaking and really great wines like that. But more than that, it has stayed because of the people, and we are so lucky to have you and Jim as new-ish vintners here. And I thank you so much for making it work today.
Thank you.
We had some issues, but I'm going to jump to Victoria Coleman of Lobo and say goodbye to you and this beautiful wine just for now, though.
Cheers.
Cheers. 2019 brand white wine available on Open the Cellar. Christine, I hope to see you soon and catch up. Go ahead and hit that X for me. So I just requested Jaime. Hi.
Hello.
Oh no, I have to drink 2015 Sauvignon Blanc instead now.
I know, you poor thing. I feel so bad for you.
I know, it's the worst. It's the worst. How are you?
I am great. I'm calling in from sunny Santa Barbara. So.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
How are our friends down in Santa Barbara right now? What's going on?
Literally just arrived and doing this, and then we're gonna go out and figure out how they're doing.
I love it. Well, Jaime, good. I was just down there recently. It's beautiful right now. Of course, nothing compared to Napa Valley. But Jaime Araujo of Trois, Noix. You always say that so much more beautifully than I can. We've got an aged Sauvignon Blanc. How lucky are we to have a 2015 Sauvignon Blanc?
Yes, it is. It's honestly, it's a special vintage for me for a lot of reasons, but partially because it was the very first Sauvignon Blanc that I made for Trois Noir. And 2015 personally was the year I made plans to move back to the United States after having been abroad for 25 years. So we moved back in 2016, but 2015 was the year that decision was made. So that's very special to me. And then in terms of the wine, I think 2015, the reason I chose this particularly for this event is that this year we've had a lot of talk about drought, about very dry conditions, and about very early harvest. And in fact, 2015 was really a very similar year. So
looking at how beautifully this wine has aged and how amazing it is, gives me a lot of hope for this year's vintage. So we've seen a few more weeks of very, 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 very boring weather, and then we will be good to go.
Well, as Paula said, no drama is a good thing. We like a little boring.
Yes, very boring. We are all up for a very boring harvest this year. Sorry, it looks like I have antenna. This is really hilarious.
Oh my gosh, it does a little bit, but I never would have noticed unless you pointed it out. That's why we drink, though. We drink to make it all go away. Jaime, not a lot of people know that Sauvignon Blanc can age. I think we think about it as a variety that we drink young, it's bright, it's crisp, but in certain situations, it can really have an extended life. What about this wine makes it so that it can have an extended life beyond just those first few years?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a couple of things. One is that we really focus on a balance of acidity to fruit. So the wines are clearly not acidic, or what we think of as acidic when they're young, but they do have that brightness and they have the structure that allows them to age. And the other thing is that balance, right? I think when you've got that balance and the quality of the grapes that we are lucky enough to work with in Napa Valley, we get some really beautiful things. And what I love about this wine particularly is that this is like 86% Sauvignon Muscat, which is a clone of Sauvignon Blanc, which is thought of as like the more flowery, exotic, like, and not the structured
right
clone of Sauvignon Blanc. But in fact, I mean, I think the proof of the pudding is in the glass, as it were.
I think it is incredibly aromatic, and I love that you use Muscat. So is the other percentage of that Sauvignon Blanc, or did you add a little Semillon?
In fact, in 2015, we were lucky enough to get a little Semillon. So that is also another reason why I think this particular vintage ages so incredibly well, because Semillon just goes on and on and on and on forever, as our Australian friends will tell us, and our friends in Bordeaux, for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I love Sauvignon Blanc as an aged variety, actually probably more so than as a young wine. And I've had the pleasure of drinking ones from Napa Valley from all the way back into the 90s. And they are just spectacular and bright. And I think what happens that not a lot of people know is they sort of lean into this sort of like weighty, textured, waxy thing, and so they get really, really interesting. So these citrus flavors start to move into something that's a little bit more elongated and a little less of that like angularity, and it goes a little more meringue and tropical sometimes. But I love this wine. I love that you've made the 2015 available. So special.
And honestly, there were only 97 cases made, so this is really dipping into my personal cellar for this particular thing. But I just, the Vintners have done such an amazing job over the last, I mean, they do a great job anyway, but they've done a particularly great job over the last year and a half, really just helping all of us in Napa Valley and our hospitality partners and our nonprofit partners to weather the storm of everything that happened to us over the last 2 years. So I really believe that it's important to support our friends who have supported us. So yay.
Couldn't agree more. Cheers to the Vintners. We'll do a little raise to the glass of that. I can't stop drinking this wine. What would you eat with this? What is your professional winemaker opinion? I have some thoughts if you.
Oh, I'd love to hear your thoughts, actually.
Well, I'd love a little cheese. I would treat this more like a Chardonnay than a Sauvignon Blanc. Mm-hmm. And so I would lean into some creamier cheeses with this. I would also maybe do something like a light halibut with like a creamy sauce on that. But it's got a lot of texture. And so this Sauvignon Blanc can stand up to things that we maybe wouldn't have normally thought of with a younger Sauvignon Blanc.
For sure. And I would say if you're that way inclined, definitely take this to your sushi or kaiseki meal, and really fabulous with a little bit of spicy, even Thai food.
Yes.
It's delicious.
That's a great call. That's a great call. I love this little Thai. Yeah, I mean, it's got all the ripeness that we want, not in an overwhelming way, but texturally sort of fleshy and meaty and weighty and perfect. Yeah. What's going on with harvest? Because I know you not only just make a Sauvignon Blanc, you make Cabernet. So are you kind of in that weird like eye of the storm?
Yeah. So Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Rosé, all in the barn, which is great. And last night, in fact, we brought in our very first reds. We brought in our Merlot. It's the very first time we're making Merlot from your Hannah down in Oak Knoll. And we've got Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc coming in the next week to 10 days. So
exciting.
We'll be done. Yes.
What keeps you up at night during harvest?
Oh my gosh, what keeps me up at night? Harvest keeps me up at night because we harvest in the middle of the night or in the very early morning. But actually, I was very lucky. So last year, my kids actually did their first harvest with me, and they decided they really loved it. And so last night, I got to bring them along, which was great. I think they're probably a piece of garbage at school this morning, but it was great. We were out in the middle of the vineyard under the stars at midnight. It was just kind of magical.
I think that's so wonderful. And I love that so many of the vintners in the Valley are really leaning into bringing in their family, making it a generational thing. I was just at Aspen Food and Wine talking about the next generation
I
here.
saw that.
Yes.
Awesome.
And yeah, it was wonderful. It was really, really good to bring Napa to Aspen. But one of the things that I really talked about that I think is so important, and it's happening to your point about bringing your kids to harvest, is this idea that we are making this a family thing. This is very much about all of the generations working together to make these beautiful wines. It doesn't happen without our entire community, and that includes the young kids as well.
Absolutely. And I would say, big shout out to St. Helena High, because they are working hard on ag bio, ag chem, Future Farmers of America, and they are helping to feed our agricultural pipeline, which is a really wonderful support to have in our community.
So cool. I love that. Where is your favorite place? Because I'm sure you're drinking lots of it, to grab coffee.
Oh, my favorite place to grab coffee. That seems like an unfair thing. I will say though, because I just don't want to say one over the other. I don't want to get cranky. But I will say I have on my Instagram this year for harvest with Justin Trabue, who works over at Heights. We have had a sort of dueling breakfast sandwiches theme.
All right.
Obviously at harvest, when you've been harvesting all night, come 6:37 a.m., it's time for a little something in your tummy. So I would say for the moment, the front runner has been the original OG breakfast burrito from Model Bakery.
Yes, that burrito is delicious.
The station's green eggs, no ham running a very close second, because that was just amazing.
I love that one. And I will say the station does such a great job for all of our vegetarian friends.
Yes.
Their breakfast burrito with the sweet potato is delicious. So we're so lucky in California, especially in Napa Valley, to have all of these options available to all of our friends who are gluten-free, vegetarian, vegan, and both Bottle Bakery and Station here in St. Helena do a great job of that. But I am a little partial to the Station wrap.
Yes, and I love the Station. I think they do such a great job. And honestly, interesting you should mention that at a committee meeting that I had yesterday about environment and climate change. One of the things we were talking about were the actions that we can all take to help to stabilize climate change over the next 10 years. We can actually do it in 10 years. Yes. And one of the things is eating more plant-based. So even if we aren't necessarily vegan all the time, maybe that, sweet potato breakfast sandwich is a good idea from time to time.
That's right. Maybe just once a week, make it an effort to do that. So proud of the sustainable efforts here in Napa Valley and the rest of California. The Napa Green program is really just such an important part of this community and our winemaking friends, and I think it's wonderful. I'm going to try to see if I can get Christine O'Sullivan back from Brand. Thank you so much for being with us. Just a refresher, 2015 Trois Noix available via Open the Cellar right now. Like Jamie said, what did you say, 197 cases?
No, there were 97.
97 cases.
Yeah.
That's
There's
nothing.
Not a whole lot left, so enjoy it if you can.
I certainly will. Thank you. All right. Bye, Jamie. I'm going to see if I can grab Christine if she's around. Bye. All right. Let's see if we can get this gorgeous. And we're going to be switching to red wine. I'm so glad that oh, hi there. Oh my goodness. Where are you, Victoria? It looks so beautiful.
I'm up on Atlas Peak, actually, we call it Villa Lobo.
Oh my gosh. It's so beautiful.
So this is where we grow our fruit for the Atlas Peak Cab that we're going to. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you well. Yeah, you're good. You're good. And I see you.
Cut
You
off.
already have some fans in the audience. Miss Magnolia Wine says she loves you, and your rockstar winemaker Victoria. So very exciting. I put my glass somewhere. There it is,
I
right
love her
next to
too.
here. And I'm gonna get this in my glass right now. I'm so excited to try this. I actually, I know we've never met in person, but it's a pleasure to meet you virtually at the very least. 2016 Lobo Wines. Tell me about this wine.
So, well, I chose the wine because 2015 we had quite a low yield up here on the mountain or hillside. So this is like us getting back into our normal production. And I think it was the first time I danced around the tank at bottling because I was so excited. Um,
Was there music involved?
nope, in my head.
Just in your head.
Yeah. So we're about 1,350 feet in elevation up here on Atlas Peak with this vineyard. And it's a blend of, so it's primarily Cabernet Sauvignon, but we have Merlot and Petit Verdot at 8% Merlot, 6% Petit Verdot. And it's, I think, the third vintage where we started incorporating those grapes into this wine, the blend. I tend to blend it early. Thinking about the 2016 vintage, there was nothing really remarkable. It was just one of those vintages that probably could have like made itself. And we probably just did like a little bit, like as little canopy management or fruit adjustment as possible because it wasn't necessary. So this wine, it's, I think, the hardest wine that I have to make just because of the hillside and the lack of soils.
Mm.
But it's a very pretty wine. It's very elegant. When I started making it at 100% cab, I think it was more earthy and like black tea, which I still love, but this is just like much more pretty. A lot of
It is.
violets and black fruit.
It's very pretty. You know, I think, at least I think of Atlas Peak of being a place that makes very muscular, intense wines. And this still very much has that intensity that we love about this place. But you're right, there is something else going on. There's a little coffee, there's a little tarragon, there's all these different things that are like making it like a symphony. So when we were talking music, or at least music in your head, my mind was like, what song is playing in this wine? Because I think it's a good one.
It will be something with Michael Jackson, probably.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. Victoria, this wine is obviously from Atlas Peak, from Napa Valley. What do you think makes Atlas Peak so special?
Well, I think in elevation, I think that's a part of it. We're about halfway up, but I think also we're a lot cooler than the valley floor. So sometimes it's like a challenge, just we're hoping for warm weather, but that's changing, of course. I think it's just that little microclimate that we're in where it's, cooler temperatures. I know that there are pockets on Atlas Peak that get warmer than what we may get here in this vineyard, but it's just like it's not even known. I sit on the board of Atlas Peak, and so we're still trying to get like to the forefront, or get out there. We've been in existence as long as anyone else, but it's just we're so little known. No one. Acknowledgement, I guess, is what I'm trying.
Not yet. It's a special place, and I think wines like this will only continue to make it more recognized. This is a beautiful wine, and one I assume, is this current vintage?
For now, yes, it is. We're coming upon release of the 2018. We don't have a 2017, but so it is current for now.
Okay. And what's going on with harvest right now? I assume you're sort of like getting ready for some things, or have you brought any fruit in?
Well, we have, not from this vineyard. We have also a vineyard in the Oak Knoll sub-appellation. So we've done some intentional rosé of Pinot Noir, which I also have here.
Ooh.
And then this. But so we've started that. We also do red wine of Pinot Noir. And we have Merlot probably coming in from this vineyard on Friday.
What is the most stressful part of harvest for you? What keeps you up at night?
I think it'll be more inside the winery.
Okay.
Where temperatures are where they should be. If you hit the nutrient additions where you should have. So it's probably more the winery than the vineyard. I think I'm in sync with the vineyard.
And do you have a protocol for your days during harvest? Is there like a specific way you started? Is it coffee? Is it tea? Is it breakfast? Is it like just get out of bed?
It's kind of just get out of bed. Just get out of bed. I tend to wake up in the middle of the night and I check for emails to do with work, of course, and then get coffee wherever I can. But I would like to be able to go to the gym. I used to do that quite a bit, but since COVID.
No gyms. Your workouts at the vineyard, lifting barrels, doing all the punch downs.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have bird netting around the Merlot here, and it's on the hillside block, and I call it Ass Hill. And so I crawl underneath the netting, and then I look up at it. This happened yesterday, so it's just so.
This feels fresh.
Fine. Yeah.
Well, the wine is beautiful. Obviously the views are beautiful. Michael Salati of Opus One is saying Victoria makes beautifully balanced wines with superb restraint. And Michael, you can take my job if you want. You've said it perfectly. It is beautifully balanced, exercises restraint, still has all of that gorgeous intensity, really beautiful fruit from the 16 vintage, which, I have to say, I don't think there's a bad wine from 2016. There are very few bad wines, if any, from Napa Valley, but 2016 Napa Valley Cabernets are just dynamite right now, and they are really falling into this sweet spot. And I think this wine is only going to get better with a little more time. So this is not one that you need to open right away, though it certainly would be enjoyable. But if you want to grab a few, since you have the opportunity to do so, courtesy of Open the Cellar, you would not be remiss to purchase more than a couple and lay them down. Victoria, thank you so much for being here. I will let you get back to your very, very, very busy job up on Atlas Peak. Thank you for joining us with this beautiful vista, and I hope to meet you in person soon.
Thank you. I as well, and thank you for having me.
My pleasure. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're going to bring in Diane and Phil Steinschreiber, who should be here. All right, let's see if I can find them. This is always the fun part. Okay, Watermark. Where'd you go? There you are. Send request. All right, last Cabernet of the evening, and then I get to go and enjoy all of these wines. Hi, guys. Hello.
There you go.
You look nice and comfy. Where are you joining me from?
Well, we're up on Hell Mountain at 2,200 feet at our home ranch, and we have a three-year-old vineyard waiting to be had next year.
And you've got internet, which is even more impressive up at 2,200 feet.
Yes, it is. It is.
Thank you, Valley Internet.
Yeah, we're pointed directly at their tower.
Very good. I'm glad to have you both here. Phil and Diane Steinschreiber, of course, of Watermark. Phil, you had such a legacy over on a different mountain prior to Watermark. But this is your own project here. This is 2017. I know that it's just saying Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon, but can you tell me a little bit about this wine as I get in my glass?
Sure. 2017 Napa Valley. Believe it or not, I had to reject all the grapes that I had contracted for in 17. And I was lucky enough to find some. I was scrambling to find some grapes. And I had to reject my Mount Veters because it was a problem with the fire. And I found at Coletto's estate some fruit that I was able to purchase. And since that time, and I love the grapes, and since that time, we've been purchasing grapes from them. And this Friday, we're going to be picking.
Fantastic.
So we're excited.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And then eventually you will be picking from your own vineyard where you are now, this 3-acre parcel?
next year we'll be picking for the first time.
Yes.
Yeah, we're very excited about that because I used to have a Hal Mountain program that from grapes I had purchased, but now we have our own estate, and it's going to be called Corey Lawn Vineyards. So we're quite happy with it. Corey Lawn.
Corey Lawn. What does that mean?
Well, you can explain it, honey.
Well, Phil and I got married in 2011, and he had one son and I had one daughter. My daughter's name is Corina.
Okay.
And his son's name is Elan. So it is Coralan.
Corey Lawn.
I love it. I love it. That's a good way to make sure your kids aren't mad at you. Name a vineyard after them. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mom and Dad, if you're watching.
And they like wine.
Well, that's even better. Even better. Hopefully they do their part. Is that a pup in the background?
That is Charlie. Come here.
Charlie, the vineyard dog.
He's our vineyard dog. He's a doodle.
He's chasing the bear away.
He's chasing the bear away because we have a bear on the property.
Oh, yeah. All right. I was just in Aspen and I saw nothing but like beware of the bear signs, and I was like, I don't know if this is the right place for me. I like wine. 2017 2017 Watermark. What was the reason you chose this as the wine for Open to Cellar?
Want me to tell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Well, it was interesting in that we found ourselves without fruit in 2017, and we had to scramble. And it was actually, in a way, kind of fortunate.
Right.
Because in our scrambling, we found some really beautiful fruit.
Really nice fruit.
And we're pretty excited about it. And hopefully we'll be able to retain getting some of it till our estate grown comes in.
But we'd like to keep this as well.
Yeah, I'd say, my professional opinion, not that anyone's asking, but this is a darn good wine. And not that you could make a great wine out of pretty much any grape, but it feels like you have a good foundation.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I was at Diamond Creek Vineyards for 30 years.
Oh, yes.
And I just retired at the end of last year.
Well,
which was a good time because of COVID and all that.
Yeah.
So it was time. And we love this project. We've had this project since 2004. So it's been around for quite a while. And Watermark project. Yeah. And we're really happy with it, and Diane likes selling it.
Even better. We all play our roles. It's soft, it's supple, but it's got so much intensity. And we talked about intensity with the Atlas Peak wine with Victoria, but this really leans into something that's a little rounder, a little softer. This is very, very approachable, despite it being young. And I did not decant this. I just gave it a little open and poured it in my glass. But the wines of Diamond Creek, and I know the style there, they're wines that could have aged for forever and ever and ever, I assume. Are these wines made with the same sort of approach? I mean, they're drinkable now, but would you like to see this with a little more age?
This is made the same way. I mean, it's me, so I'm not going to change now after so many years. I was just saying that seems like everyone's is younger than I am at one time, and at one time they were all older than I am. So it happens. So we're really, it's all made in the same way. Most of it is punched down. I do all the similar things that were done at Diamond Creek. So it should be my brand.
Yeah.
My stamp of approval. So.
Can I
Yes.
expound? Yes, okay. So, I think one of the things that Phil does is it goes for mouthfeel.
Yeah.
It's a very, I guess, sensual kind of creamy but powerful mouthfeel.
Yeah.
And also, when he says he does the same things, he means things like, 100% new French oak, cold pressed fruit for 22 months.
Wow.
Yeah,
all the things we want to hear of a quality wine that's age worthy, of course. Yes, I think you're right. Mouthfeel, texture. I mean, this is a wine that really kind of coats your mouth. It feels great. It's a little silky, but it's not, it's certainly not an empty wine. I think sometimes you don't always have that combination of great intensity and great mouthfeel and great structure at the same time. This is a wine that really, really goes for the long haul, and I would be very interested to see this in about 20 years. I'm sure. I'm sure being up on Howell Mountain at 2,200 feet of elevation comes with its own set of limitations. So you're probably not getting down to the valley floor for coffee. So tell me about your mornings during harvest. Is it?
Well, right now I'm actually consulting for another winery,
Okay.
which Sherwin Family Vineyards, a great winery.
Yep.
And they were harvesting this morning. So I ran over there and we did some harvest. So I do get down in the valley, usually daily.
All right.
So coffee, I don't drink coffee.
All right.
So believe it or not, I definitely drink wine. Coffee I gave it up over 2 years ago.
Okay.
But she drinks coffee. And she makes a great cup of coffee. I mean, you put a spoon in it and it will stand up.
Of course you will.
Yeah. Phil, do you have a favorite breakfast treat during harvest? Or are you like a breakfast burrito from Via Corona? Do you hit station? Or are you like I don't do breakfast?
I like eggs.
Eggs.
Eggs, bacon, sausage, muffins.
He likes to fry a lot of onions.
A lot of onions. I do
put
that.
Put a little egg in there.
Yeah.
All right. Lucky you, Diane.
Yeah. She gets some.
Yeah, I eat my like cornflakes.
Yeah, cheese, cornflakes with yogurt. Yum, yum.
Weird, but I like it. All right. Hopefully not with mine. Well, so much still going on during harvest. I assume you have a little ways to go before the end.
This for me, it's just the beginning.
Yeah.
We're just starting it, and Friday, like I said, Friday we'll be harvesting our own fruit, and I'm pretty excited about that. I'll be making it up at some of it here and some up at another winery.
All right.
So, yeah, it should come out beautifully, and the grapes are just so good this year.
Yeah.
I just really love. I've been out in the vineyards and the fruit is just amazing. It's one of the better years, at least I think it is. And I'm excited about it.
I think there's a lot to be excited about. I'm tasting the grapes too. Of course, I don't know what happens as far as winemaking, but they taste very good on my walks. The 2017 Watermark Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon is available on Open to Cellar. Grab yourself whatever you love cab with. There's a million things to eat with this wine, though you certainly don't need food. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to say goodbye to you, and we are going to wrap up this little live stream. Thank you so much to Phil and Diane.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us. The sale is on 48 hours. You have less than 48 hours now. It started this morning. So go ahead, hit the opentocellar.com site, head over there, find the wines that you are inspired by, the wines you want to stock your cellar with. They will be there for just about 24 plus more hours. This is your moment to raid the cellar. It's time. Thank you so much to the Napa Valley Vintners for letting me take over and do all of these wonderful interviews with our fellow vintners in the valley. It's always a pleasure to be here. I will see you soon, and hopefully, fingers crossed, for a gorgeous rest of our harvest. Bye, everyone.